Hey, everybody. Welcome. Another fantastic episode of the Hunt Club podcast. I haven't decided whether this is cyber minds or AI in action or product briefing, or we'll put it into one of the shows. I think it's cyber minds because I have the fabulous Tim Wade, who's been on the show. Maybe you've been on the show in the past. I think you have, haven't you? Yeah. No, maybe
Great
not.
to be here.
Maybe
Great to
not.
be here,
Uh,
regardless.
yeah. This is going to be, these podcasts are going to be fun because Tim and I have a relationship of, or a history of jumping on calls like this and riffing and ranting for 30 minutes. We won't do it for 30 minutes. You never know. Like we'll try to timestamp it, but you never know where this is going to go. And we have this knack of just throwing something at each other and then riffing on it for a while. Very little prep done because we want stream of consciousness coming from this guy. Tim, introduce yourself to everybody. So for those that don't know you.
Yeah. So I think that stream of consciousness adds some authenticity in the moment. Tim Wade, I'm the Deputy Chief Technology Officer at Vectra AI. Attach some more emerging technologies and special projects work. My background is a practitioner, plenty of scar tissue. So have some perspectives on what it's like to be on the other side. Yeah, let's get real with some of these topics, Mark.
All right, I'm gonna throw one at you because we talked about this yesterday. So there was a little bit of prep, but not really prep. It was more of like we were riffing on like, hey, what could we talk about? We could talk about literally anything. And you and I'm going to throw a twist at you. We talked about SOC modernization or SOC transformation, right? A loaded term. Could be contrived as a loaded term, but I want to throw one other layer on top of that conversation, right? So I'm gonna start this off with just a simple question to you, and let's see how far you can riff on this, because then I'm gonna plug you with some other ones, and you could do the
Uh-oh.
same. You could do the same to me.
Okay.
You could do
All
the
right.
same to
Yeah.
me. Point, counterpoint, whatever, however this goes. Okay, SOC modernization. First question: what the heck is SOC modernization mean?
Yeah.
Part B: what's the role NDR plays, network detection and response, in SOC modernization?
Yeah. I've been chewing on that term. If you had asked me a year ago what SOC modernization meant, maybe a little bit longer than a year ago, let's say 2 years ago, I would have pointed towards all of the proactive activities that a SOC that has fully embraced their detection and response objectives is undertaking. Um, I think that at the risk of introducing some frothy hype and buzz, I think that this generative AI revolution that we're on reframes how we need to understand SOC modernization, and in some fairly significant ways. But just to address that term, as we've been using it for some time now, I think that it recognizes that things will go wrong, and that's not anything but part of what we expect is going to happen. And a modern SOC recognizes that that's not game over, that's game on. Modern SOC leans into the idea that adversaries pay costs to get where they have landed in an environment, and very rarely are they one and done and have achieved their objectives. They have to spend time, effort, resources to go from point A to point B. So it's a race. I think a modern SOC has internalized that and is winning that race, like Chutes and Ladders, right? Sends that
Yeah.
adversary back to start. But I also think that, and I don't know if SOC modernization is the right word, but we'll use it when we think about how we've historically thought about the SOC. It's been a very human-centric construct for good reason. Humans are highly capable, general-purpose creatures that can, of course, can also specialize in areas. Are flexible, can manage all the long tail of chaos that exists in the field of cybersecurity. But I think that parts of that will materially change if we look at just how rapidly some of this technology has been evolving over the last couple of years, and we forward project out 2, 3, 4 years. Things that have been human centric, have required human touch, human judgment, I think are going to shift to human authorization, human audit, human accountability for the kind of technology that has been deployed on behalf of humans. So I'll pause there. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you were speaking, the question that was popping in my head was, when is SOC modernization achieved? Like, is it ever? Is the SOC ever not modernizing?
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, attackers are modernizing all the time. Meaning, okay, let's just take the word modern, right? What does modern mean? What does modernizing mean? It means to, like, you could say it's evolving, right? You could say it's constantly evolving. It's continuing. There's new things emerging. Thus we need to keep pace with, changes in the market, changes in, attack techniques, whatever, vectors, domains, whatever it might be. So I'm like, going back to like the first question, what is SOC modernization? It's like, okay, is it a buzzword? Is it because it's like we're always trying to, who is it meant for? Right? Because if one SOC they say, yeah, we're modern,
Yeah,
but we're also modernizing. Like we're adding to, right? Or
yeah, it's a term that I think articulates that security as a discipline has gone through evolution, and to modernize then is to kind of internalize and forgive me for using this term, but best practices of the day. I feel like to a degree, what you're hitting on is that there is a zero-sum game between the defender and the adversary. There isn't just some static problem that we're solving, but no, we have a dynamic partner in this game who is constantly trying to outdo the defenders, come up with new ways of meeting their objectives. One of the phrases I use is that security is both a state and an activity. As an example, we can look at cryptographic protocols. We can use various tools to analyze, are they secure? That reflects a state. But on the flip side, security operations is very much kind of a treadmill activity. There are new threats. The enterprise is adopting new technology. That new technology has various levels of risk associated with it. So no, I don't know that you ever fully arrive unless until we reach a point where the adversary has laid down. Yeah. But again, part of modernization then is recognizing that we can't, the old days of, the really old days of I'm going to deploy a firewall and I'm going to prevent my way out of this problem and set and forget. That has come and gone. Though, when we think about this kind of autonomy of AI agents, set and forget is the wrong term. Maybe deploy and refine is a better reflection. That some of that high touch that the human recognized that they needed to step in and manage. There's a new player and a new partner in that journey that kind of again reshapes that task.
Yeah. I mean, one could say SOC modernization and just general enterprise transformation or modernization. Remember digital transformation? That was like the word, like the phrase everyone used. And what did it mean? And well, back then it meant moving to cloud, and now it means like something else. And I mean, so it's like this constant moving target. I think it's more of a realization that, hey, new technologies are gonna. You use the word revolution, right? Gen AI revolution, AI in general revolution, and as enterprises adopt this and embrace this, and I think it's it's. I wonder if we do ourselves. I'm gonna throw this at you, see what you think, because this is my stream of consciousness. It's like when we say, why is SOC modernization any different than the modernizing of the enterprise? Like the enterprise is adopting AI. Like the SOC is part of the enterprise. So if I'm a CEO or a CIO, and it will say, "Thou must embrace AI as part of our daily lives," We must learn it, embrace it, use it, harness it, et cetera, et cetera. That's no different for a security team,
I
right?
actually think it's a
Other than they're held accountable for the governance and risk management of said adoption of said tools, right? In and of themselves and of the rest of the enterprise, right? So
it, it feels like a different flavor of the same problem. Again, the enterprise, by and large, has a competitive landscape ahead of it. It recognizes that there are competitive advantages of using tools that increase efficacy or increase efficiency. Similarly, the SOC has a competitive relationship with the adversary. And so this is a question of what can you get done, how effectively, with how much risk. There's trade-offs, of course,
yep,
right?
yep.
The incentives of an AI system are materially different than the incentives of a human, and
Yeah.
managing that will be kind of weird and wonderful. But yes, there is, I think, a comparison between the changes going on in the enterprise and the changes that we'll anticipate the SOC going through.
Yeah, so I think of like you know, AI. This is why I was like, this could be a Cyberminds or an AI in action or whatever. You know, either one of the shows. But I think of you had just said this. It was like, why are enterprises at large embracing AI efficiency, potentially effectiveness, efficacy, streamlining operations, whatever it might be, for the purposes of a competitive advantage?
Yes,
So the SOC's doing the same thing. Like
100%.
I
Yes.
need to look at AI and how it helps me gain a competitive advantage over my competition, which in this case tends to be is an adversary, not necessarily another company or another entity or whatever it might be.
And by the way, that's the reason adversaries are also using this tool for
Yeah,
competitive
yeah.
advantage. They have
Yep.
their own supply chain and their own economies of scale and their own risk tolerance for investing in an attack that may or may not be discovered and isn't profitable for them. I mean, there's a point where they're like, yep, sorry, not going to hit this enterprise, moving on to the next one because this one's too difficult. So there's absolutely cost factors in here that are ultimately competitive advantages. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and you've been at Vectra for a while now, and you recently shared with your network the Gartner Magic Quadrant that just came out for NDR, right? And if you look at that report, AI played adoption and use of GenAI, and AI was a big kind of area of focus for Gartner when they wrote that. So in this whole thing of like the competitive advantage and you referred to it as a race. I love that. It was like we're in a race, right? It's not game over, it's game on. We need to, gain a competitive advantage. Like what's the role AI
Yeah.
plays in that race?
So there's something that is important for Gen AI to be successful, which is trust. One of the difficulties of these new technologies is that they're somewhat opaque. You don't always know why they make the decisions that they make, and so that erosion of trust is potentially a problem. One of the things that's an immense strength of NDR is that unlike a tool that is at the point of impact, at the point of attack, NDR is passively deployed across the enterprise. It's not directly under attack from an adversary. It's able to have a system of record that is trustworthy. That the adversary is not actively aware that it's deployed and is present.
Competitive
And so this
advantage. There's a competitive
100%,
advantage. I don't
100%,
know
yeah.
it's there. I'm an adversary. I don't know it's there. And it's like,
Yes.
is that in and of itself, is that competitive advantage? One of a competitive.
100%, 100%. It forces the adversary to adopt operational security. So either abandon operational security and try to just brute force their way through a situation loud and rapid and hope that the security team is asleep. But we'll say a non-modern security team that hasn't totally internalized their modern responsibilities, or it forces that adversary to adopt operational security and hope that they can maneuver through a world just filled with tripwires and draw out their attack. But again, this gives the defender. I mean, this is win-win, right? This gives the
Yep.
defender more at bats, more bites of that apple. So I think one of the critical things that is so transformative about NDR, and again, one of the reasons why in my prior life we were early adopters and believers of this technology, is just that it kind of changes the calculus between my relationship as a defender and the poor choices now that the adversary has before them to progress.
Yeah, so you say this, you use terms like trusted, passive. It's there. It's got a, one would say it's a source of truth, right? It doesn't discriminate. It just watching what's
Here's the
going on
facts. Yep, 100%.
what's going on the network. We agree that's a competitive advantage versus an adversary because they don't know that's going on. Right? They don't know it. They don't know that they can't see that there is a Vectra AI deployed or whatever it might be. Okay, now go one step further in terms of I've deployed NDR. I have a competitive advantage over my adversary. How is that measured? What is the outcome of competitive advantage, quantifiable outcome of a competitive advantage for a SOC team, for a CISO, for heck, CIO, CEO, in their embracing of Gen AI and emerging technology.
So, I mean, when you say quantification, we open up a lot of criteria that.
That's another podcast with you.
Yeah, it probably is. So let me stop short of quantifying the impact and just kind of talk about some of the symptoms. Some of the symptoms are that the things that we care about in our enterprise, we'll notice risks presented to those things much sooner than we might have otherwise, with greater clarity on does this actually present a threat, or is this actually something that's not worth our time. I think one of the strengths of effective NDR is the awareness of the environment itself, and the judgment to say, actually, these behaviors that I've observed are not indicative of an adversary. They're indicative of an IT system that I've been able to observe over this period of time. I mean, don't forget that oftentimes adversaries aren't just throwing these exploit haymakers over the wire. They're using administrative protocols. They're using authorized credentials. And then those learnings inform the difference between what is authorized and what is malicious. But again, these symptoms are, I see that sooner when it matters, with more clarity. And then I'm able to, with less effort, deploy effective countermeasures.
And I'll go one step further, and then we'll end this before we go to the 30-minute, because we could keep talking. I stop it. I see it sooner. I stop it sooner, and take the necessary action by taking the necessary action. But that information in and of itself, seeing that attacker behavior and stopping it, is almost a full circle feed back to, okay, how do I stop these things from even getting started in the future?
100%.
Where can I plug? Where am I being exploited that I didn't know I was being exploited before? How does NDR then begin to influence overall posture of the environment, right? Based
100%.
on what it knows, based on what it learns, what it knows, what the human learns and knows, and where they know, if you've stopped an attack, if you've determined something to be malicious, true positive, is it an active attack in progress? I have validated that. I have taken an action. That knowledge the human has can feed back into the system and say, now look for this, right? If this happens again, you know what I mean? From a
I do, and like contrast that against the prior art, where you get a list of like, oh, you got to fix this, and you got to fix this, and you got to fix that. Just this list of misconfigurations and vulnerabilities that exist in your enterprise. That, by the way, some of those are always going to exist forever. Yeah. Some of them actually aren't even misconfigurations. It's accepted risk because some capability needs to be online in some way, and you just have to manage that risk in some other way. But yeah, as opposed to just some arbitrary list of things, having an actual map of what's really going on gives you a real sense of priority. How much of this actually matters? How much of this actually intersects with things that I care about? 100%. Yeah. It's a good call out, Mark.
Now here's another one. Here's our next podcast, and I'm going to stop this one because we talked about this in the past. Now imagine if you crowdsource that knowledge, if you're a managed service provider, right? And you crowdsource that knowledge of an active attack in one customer's environment and apply it to apply that posture improvement, if you will, that proactive defense, proactive preemptive defense to the customer, all customers at large, right? Under that managed service provider's protection or that vendor's protection, right?
If we can telegraph some of the themes that we hit in that conversation, it's pretty obvious to me that generative AI is going to fundamentally transform how managed services are delivered. And I think that there are some providers that have a great reputation. There are some providers whose reputation may not be deserved. I think that generative AI is going to be a tool where some unmet expectations will be able to be met in some of the themes that you just hit on, Mark. And I think that's pretty exciting. But it warrants a full discussion. So again, we'll put a pin in that and come back to it.
Okay, I'm going to sum this one up. This is this 22-minute conversation, roughly. See if you agree. You can just say yes or no, and then we could say goodbye. The modern SOC or SOC modernization is the realization of a competitive advantage over the adversary. However they come to that realization, GenAI, AI agents, the goal of a modern SOC is to gain a competitive advantage over your adversary.
I like it. I also want to just add that it's also the realization of the agency that you have as a SOC, and the ways that you can actually affect change. But yeah. Yes, ultimately this drives towards a competitive advantage over an adversary.
Okay.
Cool.
That's Mark. Our next one. We're doing this again. Tim, thank you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
We'll do more. I love these. No slides, nothing. We're just riffing. We'll do more of these. Hopefully everyone that tuned into this one, comment, throw ideas at. I'm gonna have Tim on more and more because this is the kind of stuff that we can just riff about. Throw some topics at us. I'll blindside you. If we get comments from viewers and they're like, I'd like you to hit Tim up with this topic without even telling him, and let's see where that brain goes. Are you game for that? Is it game over or game on? Is it game over after this one?
Let me get my tap dancing shoes on before we hit those episodes.
Sounds good. All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Always a pleasure.
All right.
See you, folks.
Take care.